Suman garu, you went into mute. Suman garu, you are on mute, Suman garu.
Oh, okay. I think somebody by mistake muted me. Okay. So yeah, I was saying that we have started looking into our aspirations as a human being, that we all want to be happy and prosperous continuously. We try to understand what happiness is, what prosperity is, when can we and how can we achieve them, by gaining the right understanding and actually participating at all levels of our living with that right understanding is a program to achieve that happiness and prosperity. Then we went on to then we went on to see what is going on in the self, and also we saw what's the interaction between the self and the body. We saw that body is providing all the information for the self and also taking all the instructions from the self. And we also saw what's going on inside the self. We observed that the desires could come from sensations or preconditioning or natural acceptance. So whatever we are accumulating from the conditioning, it is important to be aware of it and try to see if it is aligning with the natural acceptance or not. And then we also saw how to the feeling of taking care of the body and how to take care of the body, that ahar, I mean nurturing, protection, and right utilization of the body. We have seen a few aspects of that. And then we went on to understand the human-human relationship, and we said there are 9 feelings in relationships, any relationship for that matter, and we can try to understand, we can try to identify these feelings. Like we saw yesterday, how to identify trust and how to have that feeling in us, and how to identify respect and actually how to have that feeling in us. And similarly, the other feelings, we'll try to continue to understand them. And then we went on to see what is trust, what is respect. So we noticed that you know, when I think of myself, I immediately can be very sure that I want to make the other happy. That's the answer we saw for question number 2. Whereas when we asked the question that the other want to be make me happy, we were not sure. So actually, 4 and 2 are the same thing. The other is just a reflection of us, but we were not sure about that. So having this feeling, having this confidence. So if we see, just like my natural acceptance is saying that, I want to make the other happy. Similarly, the other also, their natural acceptance would be telling them that they also wants to make you happy. So if we see this, then we feel a sense of assurance always. I mean, at any point of time, the assurance that the other wants me to be happy, that feeling is trust. And we can have this feeling in all our relationships. And with this feeling in us, we will be at a lot of ease, and also we will be able to interact with others with a lot of ease and comfort. So having this feeling, it doesn't take any physical facilities or any material aspects to have this feeling in us that the other, um, sometimes we are able to make them happy, sometimes they are able to make us happy, sometimes we are not able to make the others happy, not able to meet their expectations. Similarly, the other is not sometimes not able to meet our expectations, but that doesn't mean that they don't want us to be happy. We have to differentiate between the intention part versus the competence part. So the ability could be there, could not be there. So when the ability is there, they will be able to make us happy. And sometimes when the ability is not there, they may not be. So when they are not able to, we can try to help them if our time and energy permits. Sometimes we may not be able to have that time and energy for somebody whom we are not going. Suppose we just met somebody in a bus or in a train or at some place. We are only going to spend some 5 to 10 minutes with that person, and we observe that the competence is too less. That person is just completely frustrated, showing it on everybody around them. Then we may not have the time and energy to help those such scenarios. But at least even in that case, our feeling, I mean, we don't have to get disturbed by the incompetence of that person, right? But with all the right feelings, we can still be assured, that because of the upbringing or because of some circumstances that the person is going through, or because of some situations or the way that person is trained, that person is behaving like that. But if he or she tries starts accessing their natural acceptance, then they also, can align and, can make be happy and make others happy. So that if we recognize, then we don't get disturbed. We see this very common thing that's happening, like, somebody I mean, this happens especially from office to home. So some disturbance in the office, somebody shows it on us, we carry it, show it on the people on the way home, then we come home, show it on our kids or spouse, and then they show it somewhere else. So this kind of a chain kind of reactions keep continuing. Whereas if we were not, I mean, instead of getting triggered by external situations or circumstances or people, if we are able to contain it, if we have this feeling of trust towards other, it wouldn't get passed on to the next person unnecessarily. So that is one thing that would happen if we have this feeling of trust towards the other, and see that the intention is always right. It's just that they are not able to make us happy. And the other thing, important thing about relationships is that we are not trying to get these feelings from the others. We are not trying to make the other give some good thoughts about us or think good about us. That's not our goal. The goal is that we should have in our own self, we should have the right feelings. That's what we said in the first, when we discussed about relationships, that these feelings are identifiable, and we can have these feelings in us, and we can show it mutually. That means I have the feeling of trust, and I can express the trust also towards the other. And when I express that trust, the other becomes comfortable. But doesn't mean that the other is also going to show it back to us. That may or may not happen, and we are not dependent on that, first of all, because irrespective of the other person's behavior, we can have these feelings within us. This is an important point, because often what we do is, when we are whether we are showing trust on the other or respect on the other and or affection on the other, we start expecting things, or we start doing things because we are expecting something in the return. That depending on the other person's competence, that may happen or may not happen. But the important point is, I can still have this feeling in me irrespective of the other person's competence, right? So that we need to keep in mind, because the moment we start, having these feelings, and we are trying to fulfill these in our relationships, the first thing that we keep doing is we start, okay, I am having this feeling of trust, I am showing respect, I am showing affection, but I am not getting anything in back. This is what is immediately we start saying. But that's not even our goal at all. The goal is to have this feeling in us. Having this feeling itself is a big relief. I mean, when we are not having this,
what is happening to us is, we get angry, we get frustrated, we get worked up if we don't have these feelings in us. But if we have these feelings in us, then we are, first of all, immediately we get comfort within us, and that comfort also shows up in our interactions. You know, we show that trust on others, we show that respect on others, so it shows up in our interactions with others, and others also feel good about us. So that's one point I wanted to mention. So having this assurance that the other wants to make me happy is this feeling of trust. And that, okay, one more point about having these feelings is that when we have these feelings towards the others, because the other feels comfortable to us, I mean, this is one indicator that we are having good understanding about relationships. More and more people will feel comfortable interacting with us, talking to us, and spending, just being in contact with us. Why are they feeling comfortable? Because we are able to show these feelings towards them. So that is an indicator that we have, our understanding about relationships is improving, and we are able to have these feelings towards the others we are able to show trust, we are able to have this feeling of respect. When that happens, people around us will start feeling comfortable towards. When they have some issue, they will approach us, even though when we are actually interacting in relationships, they may not express it immediately that they feel comfortable or they feel good with us. But when they have an issue, they come. Whom will they go to? They will go to somebody whose behavior is uncertain, or they will come to somebody whose feelings are certain and definite. So they will come to people who are able to have these feelings in a definite manner. So that these are all indicators that you would see once the understanding about the trust and respect increases, and we are actually starting to show these in our interactions, whether it is towards the kids, or whether it's towards the spouse, whether it's towards colleagues, whether it's towards anybody, the people whom we work with. I mean, it could be people working in our home, it could be people, colleagues at work, anybody. So they will all start feeling comfortable with us. That's what we said in on day one. As our right understanding increases, and we are able to live with that right understanding at various levels, at individual and at family, society, nature level, then our issues start reducing. And even if there is a new issue that comes up, we can respond in a balanced manner instead of reacting. So I want to mention about responding versus reacting. So reaction is when we are not even aware of what we are responding. That somebody said something, even without thinking for a moment or not being aware at all, we just react often, and we act out of our the way we have behaved in the past. We keep repeating that again and again. We are not at all aware of that moment, that person, or that situation. We just react. So when we are reacting completely, we are unaware about what is going on in ourselves. Whereas when we are responding to some situation, when somebody said something, or when somebody opposed something, when somebody disagreed something or agreed something, whatever it is. Even somebody praises, we suddenly, if we are getting excited, and if somebody says something not in agreement with us, if we are getting depressed, that's like, our remote control is with somebody else. Anybody can just change the channel in us. They can come change us to a happy channel and change our mood to a bad channel or frustrated channel. So if we I mean, we don't want to be that kind of a person, right, who is being played around with anybody around us. So we want to respond to situations, we want to be balanced within us, in our own self, and then respond to situations. So we want to have control over ourself and our feelings. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And I mentioned about we are not trying to get feelings, not instead we are actually having and expressing feelings, irrespective of the other's behavior. And our feelings are unconditional. So only if you, touch my feet, or only if you say namaste, I will feel good in my interaction. That's a conditional thing. Only if you behave well, I will have these feelings for you. Only if you give something to me, I will have these feelings for you. This is all conditional behavior in relationships. But my feelings don't have to be conditional, because uh, trust is like as the assurance that the other wants me to be happy, and I mean, that feeling can be had towards anybody, not just a few people, or on few conditions, etc. And after talking about respect, I want to mention about what is attention versus respect. So let's again recap on what is respect. So respect is right evaluation. We are evaluating the other person's self, and if we rightly evaluate, then we will have this feeling of respect towards other. When we actually go about evaluating the other, we notice that the other person's aspiration is same as mine. Other person's program or of action to achieve that aspiration, that is happiness and prosperity, is also same as mine. and the other person also has the same potential as me. So we both are very similar to each other. What is only difference between me and the other person is at the level of competence. The ability may be different in the self. That is anyway different for each one of us, and we have to learn from each other on improving the abilities, on improving the understanding, on improving the skills, or also. So that mutual exchange of understanding and sense of responsibility towards the other, if the competence is less in some area for the other, I feel a sense of responsibility for the other. If this other has more competence, I have a feeling of shraddha to learn from the other. Right, so that is respect. The respect is the feeling that we get when on right evaluation of the self, and the feeling is that the other is like me. That is respect. But what we do usually is we don't evaluate the self. What we go on to do is actually called as differentiation, and we differentiate people based on gender, based on and on basically bodily characteristics, or the facilities that they have, or on based on their belief system, etc. So we differentiate people based on these things, and we see that that is not acceptable. Now it's not acceptable to us, as well as it's not acceptable to the other. So do you feel comfortable when somebody is showing some attention to you or feelings to you based on your body? Do you, any of you, feel comfortable when the other is giving special attention just because you're a lady or just because you're a male? If they are giving special attention to you, do we feel comfortable? No, right? Yeah, that's not acceptable to us. Similarly, do we feel comfortable if somebody is associating with you just because you belong to their religion, or you belong to their caste, or you belong to their sect, etc.? Do we feel comfortable? Is that do we consider that as the right respect, the true respect that we are supposed to get? No, right? Yeah. Similarly, if somebody is associating with us based on our wealth, because of either they're associating or disassociating, if with us based on the wealth that we have or the physical facilities that we have, do we feel comfortable when somebody does that to us? No, right? Yeah. So similarly, post or position. So if you're in a position of power, if people are trying to somehow or create a relationship. Oh, you are, that uncles, that brothers, that sisters, husband. We are very close to each other. Just because you're in a position of power, if somebody is doing that, we feel very uncomfortable. Same thing. So, and we don't also when we do that to somebody else also, it's the same feeling. The other also will not be comfortable when we do that. So all these forms of relating to the other based on their gender, based on their race, based on their age, based on their strength, or based on their wealth, based on their position, etc., or their isms, that is their belief system or their sects, etc., all these are not acceptable, not not acceptable to us, as well as not acceptable to the other when we do this. So let's reflect upon our own relationships and try to see what we are trying to relate with the other based on. Is it, do we have this feeling that the other is like me, or do we have, or are we evaluating the other based on the various, like the characteristics that we just described? So, and also I would like to differentiate between attention versus respect. So we see people doing all kinds of things, right, to gain some attention. We have seen people eating insects, we have seen people growing nails to very long, we have seen people jumping from heights, we have seen people climbing the towers, we have seen people walking on this and that. So all these things, similarly we see even the children or the students also doing or very often I'm telling children or students, but we all do something or the other to catch the attention of the other, right? That is that respect at all? Yeah, please think about it. If that is just getting some attention, whereas is it getting respect from us? when somebody does those kinds of gimmicks and gets our attention, is that respect at all towards them? Yeah, please reflect upon. We do I mean, these things actually very often in very subtle ways. Somebody jumping off from a building or walking on a rope is a very obvious thing, and in a very subtle manner also these things happen in our life. So we need to be aware of when we are doing something, why we are doing it. Okay, so that was about trust and a quick recap about respect and trust, because these are very important feelings, and these are the fundamental feelings in a relationship. Even in the closest relationships, often these get missed, but these are the fundamental feelings to have the the rest of the feelings that we talked about. So let's talk about attention for the affection. So, affection is the feeling of being related to the other. Related to the other. So, actually, often we have this, being related to the other is like, this person is my person. The feeling that this person is my person, or if I tell in the local languages, itan manavadu and a feeling. If I tell it in Telugu, or if in Hindi, ye hamara aadmi hai, or ye mera you know mera aadmi hai. That kind of a feeling is actually feeling of being related to the other. Yes, I am sharing. Is the sharing not visible?
I'm able to
Is
see it.
everybody able to see, or is it only Pawan? Yeah, Pawan. Pawanji, can you please try to pin on me? Then maybe you can see.
Okay, so I rejoined. I got an feedback that the audio was not good, so I rejoined. I hope the audio is now okay. Okay, great. So yeah, the feeling of affection. So once we have the feeling of trust and respect towards somebody, then this feeling of affection comes into picture. This feeling of affection, usually we feel related to people only on the basis of body. That's why we feel related to people only from our family or blood relations or relatives, and such kind of people, but we don't feel related to people who are not like blood relations much, or somebody else somewhere in some country or far away place. We don't have this feeling much towards them, but this feeling could be for anybody, could be for any person. So when we feel related to the other, that person, we have a feeling of affection to that person. So in Sanskrit, the word is sneh. Um, so that feeling of sneh towards somebody, that is the feeling of being related to the other. And when something happens, I mean, one of the indicators of this feeling is when our relative, whoever whom we feel related to, they get affected, then we also immediately feel that pain, or we also feel that happening to us. We can't take that so easily. So that happens to us when we have a feeling of related to that person. And then the next feeling, this is an important set of feelings, that is care. Is this feeling, the feeling of care is the feeling of nurturing and protecting the body of our relative. So this is a feeling. I mean, we see this in families, right? So especially with the kids. So we have the feeling of responsibility towards nurturing and protection of the children in the family, right? So that is the feeling of care. It's also referred to as mamata in Sanskrit words maybe. So the feeling of care is a feeling of nurturing and protecting the body of our relative. So whatever we do towards taking care of the body of the other, and I mean all the other feelings we said were towards like the trust and respect and affection. These are towards the self, right? So this is also towards in ourself towards the other self, but it is a responsibility of taking care of the body of the other. That is the care. And guidance is an important one. The care and guidance, we'll talk about this in a little bit elaboration, is the feeling of ensuring right understanding and right feelings in the other. So that is guidance. So guidance means, so I have a feeling of responsibility to ensure right understanding and right feelings in the other. The word for this is vatsalya. So if we see our approach towards the kids generally, are we providing care or are we providing guidance? What do you think are we providing to the children? So the care is taking care of the body of the child, and the guidance is about providing right understanding and ensuring right feelings in the kids, right? So if you are providing mostly things like facilities, everything, joining them somewhere, or providing them with the toys to play, providing the best clothes, providing them with the best shoes, providing them with the best of the books, and providing them with I mean anything, best of the foods that they want to eat, best of the anything, all kinds of physical facilities that we provide to the kids come under the aspect of the care. Whereas the guidance is the feeling of ensuring right understanding and right feelings in the other. That means, these can be towards anybody, not necessarily children, but we see this predominantly in the children. So that's why I was asking the question with respect to our children. So the question of time comes into picture. So even to provide guidance, first of all, we need to be able to spend the time with the child, right? That raises the question, how much time we are actually able to spend with the child. So without being able to spend the time with the children, how can we even ensure that we are giving this guidance on the right understanding and right feelings to the children? If we are busy in working more and more, we will think that we are working for my family, for the happiness of my family, and we keep spending more and more time on the work. But on the other hand, the child is actually expecting guidance in the form of spending time with them and giving them the right feelings towards them. So this is an important differentiation which we often miss out on. I've seen many people who have given everything to their kids in the form of facilities, but unfortunately they could not give the time because they were busy with their business works or whatever works. And after a few years, when the child hasn't blossomed into, or hasn't grown into what they were expecting to happen, then suddenly the mistake is realized that they haven't spent spent time with them. Now what do we do? Yeah. So like Hariji is mentioning, even with the elders, so even the parents or anybody, often we, even whether it's with the kids or with the elders also, when we see in old age homes, we are providing all the facilities to, I mean, for the parents to stay in the old age home and etc. But are they happy with that? Or they want our time and our, to be with them, and that feeling of being there with them? What will they be ever be happy even if we provide the best of the facilities in the form of old age homes and care facilities, etc.? No, right? So the the ensuring of the physical facilities is, it's not to be undermined, it is important, but at the same time we crave, I mean, what we want is that guidance and that time and that affection amongst each other. So I wanted also briefly talk about the education aspect here, because we are at the guidance part here. So the child typically follows this pattern of, these are Sanskrit words, I hope. So the Anusaran, Anukaran to Anushasan. From here, it can go to Su Anushasan, or it could go to Virod. So typically we see that the children basically they follow us, they imitate us. Whatever we do, they imitate us. So if we are walking in a particular way, they will also walk in that particular way. They are trying to copy us. If we wear the shirt in a particular way, they also try to wear. If you are sitting in a particular posture, they are also sitting in a particular posture. The words also they copy. The smile, the way we smile, they also copy our smile. So everything starts, being copied by the kids from us. So that phase is Anusaran. And when they do their own little bit modifications, that phase is called Anukaran. Okay. After Anukaran, with great deal of sometimes fear or enticement. That means we either tell them, if you don't do this, if you do, we will do that. We put a lot of fear, right? Okay, that guy is coming. If you don't eat, I'm going to call that monster. All kinds of fear we try to provide and try to put them in a particular discipline. And enticement also, like if you do this, we will go out. If you do well in your exam, I will buy you a cycle. Or if you finish your homework, we can go out for a walk. So that is enticement. So either fear or enticement is often what we offer to the kid. I mean, in using these, we try to put them in a discipline. But from discipline, if the kid needs to move to self-discipline, then we will have to provide the understanding to them. So for example, every day morning we train them, we have to brush your teeth, you have to brush your teeth, you have to brush your teeth. For hundreds of days we do that. Finally, the kid will eventually pick up, will pick up why he or she is brushing the teeth. Once they understand why they are brushing the teeth, and then they are on their own. So if that understanding is not there, then it can lead to anything. There is no guarantee on what it will lead to. When they go out, somebody else will say, for example, taking bath. Why are you taking a bath every day? I take bath once in 2 days. If we don't have the understanding of what we are doing, if we don't ensure this understanding, then there is no guarantee on what will happen. So that's why we see, for example, kids till 10th class, till 12th class, especially, they are under the supervision of the parents with a great effort, and the parents try to put in some form of discipline. Finally, what they get some rank or some admission in some college, they go join some hostel. If you see, especially in the top colleges itself, like the IITs and all, once they join there, they get this sudden freedom. There is nobody who is putting this fear or enticement on them. They are on their own completely. And everybody is a topper in some of the school. whoever is reaching IITs, for example. But what happens is when you are there, and if we don't have this understanding, that sudden newfound freedom, if we don't know how to utilize it, it is going to lead into all kinds of situations, Virod, or we see them, misusing completely. Actually, a lot of people fail in the first year in engineering colleges because of the inability to handle this sudden newfound freedom. So putting in discipline is only one little success, but actual success of a parent or anybody who is training would be when they go from this discipline to a state of self-discipline, when they are on their own with the understanding. This understanding itself, this understanding itself is the education that we can give to our kids. Whatever they are doing, whatever they are making use of their time in their life or living their life, if they are able to reach a self-discipline on their own, they understand what they are doing and why they are doing. That is the goal of any parent. In this guidance, when we are providing this guidance, the guidance is expected to take them from this state of discipline to a self-disciplined state. So yeah, this is about guidance. So the guidance is very important and often missed out because we prioritize many other things over spending time with the kids, or even actually monitoring them about what they are thinking, how they are thinking, what is their competence in various areas, and how can I improve them, all these kinds of things. Actually, I want to spend a few minutes on education, a little bit more on education, since we are talking about guidance. So I want to share one set of slides. Any question on so far? If I can take one or two questions if you have anything regarding the care or guidance part.
Yes, sir. So, hello, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, as till now, what I understand is the best guidance we have to give is what you are saying. If there is, some points where parents might not be knowing what is the right way or how to guide, then how the things can be handled or taken care. Can you please elaborate on that?
We have to, if the parents, we'll have to take either somebody's help, or at least see more than the, if we are at least the first step towards that, I would say would be probably, are we spending enough time monitoring the child very closely? And usually what do we monitor? We monitor about their academics. How many marks are they getting? What place are they in their class? Are they doing their homework well? Are they doing their assignments well? So these are the aspects usually that we keep monitoring upon. Do we monitor on, like for example, is that child, how is that child behaving with other kids? How do I improve the fact that he can behave well in his relationships, in his responsibility, whether is the child being responsible, or is the child being telling the truth all the time? The kind of values that the child is exhibiting, if we monitor them, then eventually the academics also will fall in place, right? If the child is more responsible, his academics also will improve. If the child is being sincere in the class, obviously he will pay more attention to the teacher and what he is learning. The skills will naturally improve. So if you are saying, as parents, of course, we'll also have to put efforts to improve our competence. Like for example, if my child is telling lies, and how do I change that aspect? That is something even many of us may not know, but we can always keep trying, always putting in efforts towards that, right? At least that part we can ensure. So even that, whether we are doing or not, or our focus is only mostly on the academics, is something that we can think of to start with. Right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. 1 second. I'm not sure if you're able to see or not.
Sir, most of the parents,
Yes.
can I speak? Most of the parents think every responsibility on the teachers or professors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I think we lost him there, but yeah, what I think what Ramakrishna ji was saying is that we usually tend to outsource our responsibilities. So I have admitted my child in the best of the school, so the school will take care of all these aspects about the children. But the reality, or the actual situation is that there's so many kids for the teacher, or there are so many people that they will have to monitor, that it is not practically possible to monitor every small thing about the child. But whereas the parents, being parents, we have that time and we have that responsibility and energy towards our own children, that we can monitor even the finer aspects of them if we are close with them, and then try to take corrective measures. But as a teacher who is taking care of so many kids, it may not be so easy to do this kind of close monitoring. Like for example, when can a child cross a road? If we have to decide on that, first of all, we need to be with the child all the time, to be monitoring the small improvements that the child is making. Then one day we can decide whether the child can cross the road or not. Without actually even being there, how do we even know whether the child can cross the road on his or her own or not? Right? So I would say that spending time with the kids is a very important aspect that is often missed out. And of course, the best way to improve anything for the kids is improving our own understanding. If we improve our right understanding, the kids are basically trying to emulate us. They are following us in our values. So the best gift we can give in the form of guidance to the children is actually improving our own right understanding and our own behavior. The kid is very carefully observing our behavior. So if, for example, we are talking negatively about people around us, our own family members in their absence, then the kid will pick that up, right? So they are monitoring us. If we are watching TV, they will also think that it is not anything wrong to watch TV. And if we want to tell the kids that reading books is important, or any other activity is important, then we have to show that in our living. That's the best way for us to guide our kids. To show anything in our living is the best way to guide the kids. They are observing us very closely. And of course, we should also be available to them to explain why we are doing that the way we are doing and not any other way. So that will be the understanding that we can impart on the kids. So regarding, is your child getting the right education? So I have a few questions on that. First of all, what is the goal of education? How are we measuring child's progress? And what is the parent's role in the education? And significance of labor, that is shram, in the process of education? And how do we motivate children, any kind of change in the children? And what is our understanding about success as of today? So I want to just briefly touch upon these points as far as the education is concerned. So typically we look at education as ensuring all kinds of best academics so that they land up in a great job, right? So typically good education, if you want to tell somebody has got a good education, they're doing good, getting good ranks, they're good in memory, they're in high position or grades, or a lot of information that they have with them, or they're literate and they're getting top degrees. This is how we associate good education with Whereas, my proposal in front of you is that the goal of education along with academics, we are doing very well as far as academics is concerned and technology is concerned, skills are concerned, and that is why we see that we are making progress, we are reaching the Mars and also coming back, etc. There is significant progress in technology, significant progress in academics and skills. Whereas in the value aspect, that is the individual, as an individual, what kind of individual is coming out of this education, not much effort is being put into that aspect. So my proposal is that we should actually look at the holistic development of the child along with the academics. The child, how happy is the child? How what is the kind of clarity the child has? How responsible is the child? Is the child behaving responsibly or in an irresponsible manner? Does the child have a sense of gratitude towards people around him? Is he able to maintain those good relationships? Is that child sensitive to nature, society? All these put together become the goal of the education, and not just the academics and the good job. In fact, if we ensure things on the right side, the things on the left side are far more easily achieved than we tend to see them as of today. So right education is the one that helps realize the full human potential. What is our human potential? We saw, right, that aligning with our natural acceptance and eliminating our conditioning and being able to align with natural acceptance and living in all dimensions with that right understanding, that is the human excellence. So reaching that state is the goal of the education. And parents' role in children's education is not just providing the best schools and the best facilities and best books, but also being a role model for them. Like we just mentioned, whatever we want to see in the kids, we have to live by that. Having time, spending time with them, closely monitoring them, providing them space to explore, standing by them in situations of failures. So it's okay to fail, but it's important to try. So these kind of being there for them is also very important. Child will feel more assured to explore when the parent is standing by the child. And so parents' time and guidance are more important than actually caring with the facilities for the child. Facilities are also important. We are not discarding them. We are only saying that the guidance role of guidance is much more than the care, the facilities that we provide to the children. And how are we measuring the child's progress as of today? Like we said, typically we are measuring with the rank or the marks or all academics. How is he doing in the academics? But we usually tend to ignore whether the integrity of the child, what is the kind of integrity in the integrity is like the honesty and whether the child is telling the truth and all these kinds of things, what kind of values the child is exhibiting in life, and is the child sensitive to issues around him. So for example, is he aware of the fact that the parents are working hard? Is he participating in the parents activities in the home? If there are financial issues, for example, is the child sensitive to those financial issues at home? All this becomes part of child's progress, right? So the child shouldn't be in a bubble and not know what's going on in the home and society around. So the child should be aware of all these things also. So how is the child behaving with others? These are all parameters that we need to monitor in the children. So progress is in the child is when the child is moving from an enforced discipline that we said Anushasan to a self-discipline. So that is the kind of progress that we want to see in the children. And I just want to mention about the significance of Shram, that is physical activity. So typically we also have this tendency, especially in India, we notice that the students' time is very precious. Don't waste any time in doing any small thing. Even don't drink water. I will get water to your desk only. You keep studying. We see all these kind of things happening in our homes. But eventually what happens is actually the child is becoming insensitive to anything around him. In the future, when this child becomes a husband or a wife or a parent, etc., that child doesn't have that sensitivity to again his surroundings. When the spouse is, let's say the wife is working very hard, the child, that man may not be even able to recognize that the wife is working so hard physically in the home, and I should also contribute. Similarly, the other way around, I mean, or even financial, like I said, financial issues. So participating in activities at home becomes a very important aspect of learning for children. And I have also seen parents saying that, like in my college, when there was a thing introduced in the canteen, that every child should wash their own plate after eating in the lunch or dinner. Parents complained, saying that I'm paying lakhs of rupees to you to provide for facilities for my child, and you're asking to wash his plate. So it's not that the institute doesn't have money to make somebody wash their plates. The point, the reason why the institute introduced that one is that the child should be able to do any kind of task and should not treat these kind of tasks as lowly tasks and menial tasks, etc. But the parents complained. I mean, to our surprise, the parents came and complained, saying that why are you making my child do these kind of things? So what will happen to that child when a parent is doing that? So the child is not able to appreciate people doing all kinds of things around us. So this is very important to provide the kind of activities that the child should focus on. It will not only improve the all-round development of the child, they are also able to take care of themselves and appreciate others and care for others in the future. So the confidence to do all kinds of tasks and appreciate all kinds of tasks is also a part of the education. And motivating change in children. So when we want to provide, motivate some change in the children, so typically what we are doing right now is enticing them with some rewards or punishments or putting some peer pressure. See, look at the other kids, how they are doing. You are not able to do that. This is the kind of approach that we are. But the best way to emulate any change is to, to provide that change within us. Like, we should show that priority, whatever we are trying to tell that the child is the priority. So I took an example of books, right? So if you want to encourage children reading books, we should sit with them probably and also learn and read with them. And also we should be there with them in this process of change. So being there with the child through the change and supporting them. And whatever priorities we are telling are important, we should also show them in our own lives for them to see it in living, that these are the important things. So children emulate parents' priorities and values. And success. So typically, so this is a generic way of saying it, but we have been talking about this in our workshop. So success is to have that right understanding and participate in all levels of the living with all the right understanding and comfortably participate. So live happily as an individual, in relationships, in society, work, and in nature. That is what is excellence of anybody. So excellence is currently narrowly defined as, and success is also very narrowly defined as having a great job and a great position, being very prosperous. That's how it is currently defined. Whereas in reality, excellence or success is actually about, excellence, having right understanding and participating at all levels of living with that right understanding. That is the success of any human being as an individual. So that's what is success. So let's be open also about success. Let's not define success in a very narrow way as being prosperous and achieving great jobs only. So this is the thing I wanted to briefly mention about right education of children, because parenting is something of a great interest to each one of you. Okay, I should share the desktop again. Just a second, please. Okay, so we saw the feeling of affection, care, and guidance today, right? So yesterday we discussed about trust and about respect and how we can have those feelings within us in our relationships. and we are not trying to change the other. We are trying to understand the relationship and have these feelings within us. So when we have these feelings within us, we are at comfort, and there is comfort in our interactions also. And then we said, we went on to see affection is the feeling of being related to the other. Care is the feeling of nurturing, protecting, and protecting the body of our relative. That is care. It includes providing facilities, etc. Guidance is the feeling to ensure right understanding and right feelings in the other. That is guidance. Then going on to the next feeling, that is reverence. So reverence is Shraddha. So the next feeling is reverence. Shraddha. So what this feeling of reverence is, a feeling of acceptance of the excellence of the other. A feeling of acceptance of excellence in the other or of the other. So we defined what excellence is, right? So excellence is, let me also write that down. It's not a feeling, but excellence is having the right understanding and living at all levels of existence with that right understanding. So that is an excellent person. Who is an excellent person? A person who has the right understanding and lives with that right understanding at all levels of their living is an excellent individual. So when we see such individuals, the kind of feeling of acceptance that we get, that we have that feeling of Shraddha towards them. We also want to become such an excellent person. So that is the feeling of reverence. So we usually, like for example, towards our teachers, we have a feeling of Shraddha because I have accepted that for example, the teacher is an excellent in a particular skill or in a particular aspect, and we have a sense of learning from that person. In fact, this is the feeling of so when we are doing puja, for example, the puja is as accepted. Like I accept that that whomever we are doing puja is an excellent individual or has shown excellence in their life. So I'm also trying to reach that state of excellence. So it is that feeling towards excellent people that we have is that feeling of reverence. That is Shraddha. And the next feeling is glory. Glory, the word for this is Gaurav, is the feeling for somebody who has made efforts for excellence. A feeling for someone who has made efforts for excellence. So somebody, suppose for example, they have taken this workshop and then they're trying to implement this in their life for improving their own living at various aspects of life. Then whoever is making those efforts, the feeling that we have towards them is glory. The feeling for somebody who has made efforts for excellence, who is making efforts for being an excellent individual, the feeling that we have towards them is the feeling of glory. Next is an important feeling called gratitude. So I want to do a small activity here. So can you type in the chat window who are all the people, okay, who made us what we are today? who are all the people who made us what we are today? Can you please give your inputs in the chat, people? In the chat window. Yeah, parents, brother, teachers. There are many. Respect is God. Okay, Lakshmikanji will talk about that later. Parents, teachers, friends. Okay, friends, relatives, children, elementary school, parents, extended family, parents, teachers, friends, mother, father, children, anyone I have interacted with, my teachers and pandits in temples, my tuition teacher, parent teacher, priests, elderly friends, children, my enemies, okay, enemies, gurus, teachers, family, parents, teachers, spiritual gurus. Gurus I already covered as teachers, but I like teachers, gurus also. The whole universe, everyone around us, everyone has left a lesson for us to learn. Colleagues, okay. Colleagues, the society around us, okay. As nature, environment, sweepers, other government employees, okay. Let's call workers everywhere. Society also, circumstances, universe, neighbors, philosophy, okay. So wonderful. So I mean, if you notice, books, nature, parents, at large, society. Yeah, that's true. So lot of people. I mean, pretty much actually, we have become what we are today because of, I mean, maybe thousands or if not lakhs of people who are working together. Right? I mean, initially, if you see in the responses, we all the first thought that came to us, our mind is parents, brothers, teachers, friends, relatives. So the people who are very close to us, and of course, they in a direct manner, they are interacting with us. So we do have a very deep sense of gratitude towards our parents, brothers, teachers, friends, relatives, very close family members, etc. And then slowly, you also started acknowledging the fact that it is also people around us, that when I go out on the road in the morning from my home, that person who has swept the street and kept it clean, that auto wala who is ready to pick me up, that bus driver who is actually going on the time to to transport people. Everybody is doing their jobs, but I mean, the way this whole system is working together to help us achieve whatever we want to do. So if I want to go to office, if I want to go to school, I want to go somewhere. So this whole society is working for us to make that happen, right? So many people are actually enabling us live our life in a comfortable manner. So many trains are running, so many gadgets are being invented every day, so many new features are being invented. The kind of software that goes into our mobiles, so many hundreds and thousands of people are developing this software. We may think that everybody is doing it for their own job. We are also doing our own job, but if we do it effectively, like the best thing we can do to the society is doing our job in the best way, right? Like what can the best contribution of a teacher be? If a teacher is doing that job of teaching effectively, that's the best contribution we could do. So similarly, anybody, whoever is doing their job, if they're doing their job in the best way, that's the best contribution to society to function smooth. So, and again, nature, like you all mentioned, we are getting so many things from nature. So yeah, so the gratitude is a feeling we have towards everybody who has made efforts for our excellence. Feeling towards other who made efforts for my excellence. Okay, I want to do one more small activity. So I want to take each of these dimensions. Like for example, nature. What has nature given us? Can you all please type in the chat window? What has nature given us? Fresh air, water, everything, sun, life, elements, care like mother, food, air, water, lightning, natural resources, water, plants, diversity, vegetation, comfort. Yeah, a lot of facilities, right? Lighting, appreciation of beauty, fruits, vegetables, etc. Every resources that we are using. And what has society given us? Yeah, shelter, nature, like God gives. Yes, we are extremely dependent on nature. We take pretty much everything we use from nature. What about society? What has society given us? Technology, values, safety, knowledge. Just give me a second. Yeah, protection, justice, laws, framework, knowledge, ethics, support. Yes. Just give me a second, please. There's some problem with my system. Yeah, cooperation, courage, learnings, knowledge, technology, togetherness, orderliness, everything society is also giving. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, in the meantime, maybe you can type what has family given us. Love, relationships, life, security, care and guidance, security, love, warmth. Yeah. So yeah, values, relationships, security, care and guidance, protection, moral, nurturing, support, affection, health. One second, please. There is a technical problem, so I'm sharing my whiteboard again. Okay, I think the sharing should be back now. Yeah. So society has given a lot of things like values, technology, knowledge, safety, and then family, you all said, is protection, love, unconditional, life, strength, etc. Yes, a lot of things. So next, I want you all to think about what have I given to nature? What have we given to nature? Or what are we giving back to nature? Or what am I giving to nature? Can you type those, or can you plantation? Okay. Values. Okay, also from family. Yes. Nothing much. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And what about society? What are we giving to society? Can you all think about what we are giving back to society or giving to society? Some said planting trees. Okay. Cooperation, being good citizen. Okay. Cooperation, being responsible. Yes, our service, etc. And what are we giving to our family? Ethics. Care. So whatever we got from our previous generation, we are kind of passing it on, right? In the form of next generation. Yes. So happiness, respect, love, care, etc. we are giving. So yeah, the activity is basically aimed at making us think how much we are taking from nature. How much we are not paying. Actually, we are not giving anything to nature. Is not charging from us anything. It's maybe the middlemen are creating some charges for water, etc. But actually, nature is giving so much to us: air, water, sun, life, resources, plants, everything that we get, we are getting from nature. And from society. Society is in general working at so hard to provide all these comforts to us, providing roads, playing buildings, playgrounds, all this furniture that we use, facilities, gadgets, etc. Society is creating all these for us, right? And also, some, and then family is giving so many things to us, right from our childhood in the form of protection, facilities, care, guidance, values, etc. Family is also working so hard to provide everything to us. So when we recognize this, that everybody around us, the family, society, nature are providing so much to us. We have taken so much from the society, and unfortunately, if you think of what are we giving back to nature, for example, suddenly we feel blank. What am I giving back to nature? Unfortunately, the only thing that we are doing is maybe polluting, and those are the kind of things that we are doing back to nature, right? Similarly, society also, there is so many gaps or so many spaces where society needs our support. So can I contribute there? Actually, even doing my own job in the best way, in the right way, is also a big contribution that we could do, right? Similarly to our family, then whatever we got, guidance, care, etc. from the previous generation, we of course we pass on to them also, but more to the next generation, etc. Right? So yeah, this activity is basically aimed at feeling this sense of gratitude for a moment when we see that we have received so much from all around, but we are we will be encouraged. First of all, we will feel that sense of gratitude towards everybody around us, and then we will be motivated to do more for the family, society, and nature around us. Right? So this gratitude is a very powerful, powerful in the sense when we recognize that what all we are getting from everywhere and how we can contribute to the world back, right? Okay, so the next thing after gratitude, the one feeling which is left out. So we already spoke about trust, respect, affection, care, guidance, reverence, glory, and gratitude. And then the last one in the list is love. So love is the feeling of being related to all. To all, this feeling is love, or feeling of being related to every human being and every individual. When we feel, initially we said affection, right, as the feeling of being related to somebody, that is at an individual level. But when we have this feeling towards everybody, when I feel related to every human being or every individual, then that it's called a complete feeling. That is defined as love. And if we notice, then all these feelings, to start with, family is the laboratory where we can have all these feelings. Actually, even if we can ensure all these feelings with one individual, that is a very, very big achievement. So beginning with family, we can start having these feelings towards a world family. We can eventually feel this whole world is my family. But it all starts from our own family. So the family is a laboratory where we can ensure all these feelings. So in our closest relationships, whether I have trust, whether I have respect, whether I'm providing the care that is required, whether I am having a sense of gratitude towards people working for me, whether I'm providing enough guidance. So all these feelings we can ensure in our own family first, and then we can think beyond our family, extended family. Then at one point, maybe when our understanding is so complete, then we will feel this whole world is my family. So that is the notion of, so family is our laboratory for all these feelings. So we've tried to see in a human relationship, there are feelings, and all these feelings can be recognized and fulfilled. And if you see in all these 9 feelings, okay, one thing I wanted to differentiate is having a feeling versus expression of the feeling. So we often confuse expression with the feeling itself. So for example, I go give somebody a bouquet, but within me, I don't have the right feeling towards that person. So I'm trying to fake the emotion there with just an expression. Similarly, I go touch the feet of an elder. So that's a symbol of expression of the feeling we have for that other person. But the symbol doesn't necessarily guarantee that I have that feeling towards that individual. Whereas in the other way, if I have the feeling, I have many forms of expressing. I could, for example, if I want to wish somebody, I could express that wish in the form of a namaste, in the form of a handshake, in the form of touching a feet, or with a smile. There are so many forms of expressing. The most important thing is actually having the feeling in us. If we have the feeling, then there are many creative ways to express them. But the creativity cannot be we cannot fake the feeling by just showing some expression, by doing some acts, which by trying to make them feel that I'm actually having that feeling. So the actually having the feeling is more important. Then the expression will naturally follow. So this is one thing I wanted to draw your attention to. And typically in relationships, we blame the other is the problem. So this is also one thing I wanted to draw your attention to. The other is always the problem, is how we look at things. So we try to put the blame on the other. But what is our response to the other? When let's say when the other is not behaving well, what is my response? Is that perfect? Is there anything that I can improve on? Do I have the right feelings first of all towards the other? Can I work on myself? So we need to start with working on ourselves, not working on the others. This is not at all the goal of understanding all these feelings and understanding the relationship. The goal is to work on myself. It's not about correcting the other and or changing the other to get all these feelings from the other. That's not the goal. The goal is that I have this feeling and I express this feeling. When I do that, I am comfortable. The other is so when there is feeling and that fulfillment happens of the feeling, then I am comfortable and the other is also comfortable. So when I respect somebody, I am comfortable because I am respecting. The other is comfortable because respect is acceptable to that person. So we should focus on the feeling within us and fulfilling our feelings in those relationships. So I can take one or two questions. We have only 5 minutes left. If you have any question in all the relationships, I mean, we have discussed so many feelings in the relationship and the 9 feelings. Is there any questions in this? So, yeah, please go ahead. Vishwanathan ji, can you please talk one at a time, please? Yeah, so Vishwanath ji, can you please go ahead?
Looking to me, the feeling, the correction is happening in my life, or my feeling, or my attitude. Is that?
Actually, your voice is not clear, sir. I'm not able to, listen to your question.
Yeah, sir. The feeling, that means everything is not others but me. The changes is happening on me. So I am looking through all these perspectives. Yes. I am. Yeah. I have that to me. So what is happening on me? It's not others. Or feelings.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's still not clear, but I vaguely get what you're saying. So you're saying that, yes, we are working on ourselves. When we are working on the relationships, we are working on ourselves and trying to ensure these feelings in our relationships. When I am full of these right feelings, my relationships will start becoming more and more comfortable. So, but we are not dependent on the other to show these feelings. I have the right understanding. So I will have these right feelings and express these right feelings towards everybody in my interactions. So I may not be able to express them. Like for example, somebody sitting in whom I have never met, I may not be expressing those feelings, but I still have the feeling towards those persons also. And when we come in interaction, we start expressing. Like for example, you have your childhood friend. You may not have met for 10-15 years, but you have these feelings towards the childhood friend. So these will start expressing when you meet that childhood friend, even after 10 or 15 years. You take off as if you never even got separated. So if the feelings are there, then the expression will flow naturally. So the important thing is to have these feelings in us towards the other. That's the important aspect.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, the most important thing is that today we learned the meaning of different feelings. And
Yes.
The word I love you, we can express it without any guilt. Whereas if you say I love you, it's a contentment many times.
Yeah. So there's a lot of conditioning happening. That's why we said focus on the meaning and not on the word, because the word love has been used by the Bollywood and the media industry for various purposes. I mean, it is for they've used it in a different sense. So when we are saying love here, we are saying that the feeling of being related to everybody, that oneness, that the whole world is my family. When we have that real feeling, not just in words, I need to experience it within me. That's when I really have the love, the feeling of love. So it's called as the complete feeling, or the complete value. So okay, somebody started sharing. So one more question, 1 minute we have. Any other questions? So let's focus on ourselves and try to see in our relationships, as we interact with others, what feelings are we having, especially in the closest relationships. If we can ensure these feelings in the closest relationships, that is the biggest achievement that we can have. Because even it's very tough, even in the closest relationships, to have these feelings of trust and respect and affection and care and guidance, gratitude, reverence, glory, and love towards in the closest family members. So please reflect upon these, and Hari and Shiva have also worked on these aspects significantly. They have worked in like family and relationships, so they have a lot of experiences to share. So in the discussion session in the evening, they will be able to share more insights into how they worked on these feelings, and you come up with all your questions. Like Kusumaji asked, when I don't know something, what do I do? How can I guide the child better? So maybe my answer was not very satisfactory, but yeah, please put these questions to Hariji and Shivaji also. They will share from their own practical experiences also. So in the discussion session in the evening, let's talk more about this relationships and practically like parenting related questions, or any questions that you have. Yeah, let's take up all those in the evening. So see you all in the evening. I'll also send a couple of activities, and you please reflect upon these things in your daytime. And we'll meet again in the morning tomorrow, but see you all in the discussion sessions in the evening. Thanks. Bye for now.